Jonathan chose David as his friend. The difference between Jonathan and Saul was their trust in God. Saul tried to cling to his throne. Jonathan chose to cling to God. Saul fought for what he wanted. Jonathan fought for the friend that he loved. In a very real way, Jonathan laid down his life for his friend. David was a man after God's own heart, but Jonathan modeled the love of Jesus. Rather than grasp what most would say he deserved, he thought more highly of others than he thought of himself. He thought more highly of God's plan than he thought of his plans. He thought more highly of God's heart than he did his own heart. He chose God. Sometimes the only way to choose God is to lay down what we had chosen for ourselves. Sometimes the only way to choose God is to sacrifice the Isaac, to lay the Isaac on the altar and believe that God will do whatever God will do. A lot of us have read that story so many times that we accept, we believe, we anticipate that whatever I put on the altar, God's going to give it back. He just wanted me to put it on the altar. He just wanted me to be able to say that, hey, look, I'm willing to give it. But have you noticed that there's only one time there's a ram in the thicket? A lot of things that go on the altar get burned up by the fire. Because they're not ours in the first place. Or they've taken a place in us that they didn't deserve or they're not supposed to be. So when our chapter opens and David says, is there anyone left of the house of Saul that I may show him kindness? For Jonathan's sake. The word we translate as kindness is that very important Hebrew word hesed. This word, as you've heard me talk about before, is used 248 times in the Old Testament. It's translated in many different ways. Mercy, steadfast love, loving kindness, and compassion are just a few. What it seems to refer to more than anything else, though, is God's covenant love, God's loyal love, His unbreakable, continual devotion to be faithful to His character, to His word, and to His people. John Oswalt wrote, the word speaks of a completely undeserved kindness and generosity done by a person who is in a position of power. Jonathan was the heir to the throne. He didn't fight for it. Now we can say that God gave it to David, and that's very true, but Jonathan trusted what God was giving. Jonathan could have fought with his father. Jonathan could have fought against David. Jonathan could have decided, this isn't fair. This isn't what I expected. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't how I dreamed my life was going to be. But instead, Jonathan chose God by choosing David. Jonathan made a decision. He heseded his friend. He showed him kindness that was undeserved. He showed him kindness that he had the power to not show. And now what we see is it's David doing the same thing.